Stewart Mandel, editor-in-chief of the Athletic College Football and co-host of the Audible podcast, joins us on the Deseret First Credit Union Hotline. Stewart, great to have you back on the show.
Thanks for having me back on the show. Exciting times.
Holy cow. College football playoff potentially expanding from 4 teams to 12. Just because I have to ask this, do you feel like this is already a done deal, that it's going to be ratified and that it's just now all a matter of signing the right documents?
I don't think that people as prominent as Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, and Bob Bowlesby, the Big 12 commissioner, go on a call with the media on Thursday and espouse the merits of a 12-team playoff if they thought it might get shot down by either their colleagues or by the presidents. I think now it becomes a formality that they're going to do this, that it's going to go to 12 teams. Now, some of the details that people have had various reactions to about the bowls hosting the quarterfinals, or maybe some of the selection criteria, that all could change. That's all to be hammered out, I think, over the summer. But I think we can say with 99% certainty that college football is going to have a 12-team playoff starting in either 2023 or 2026.
Hopefully it's 23. I'm just getting anxious. This is exciting. Why now with the timing, and why 12? Because I feel like sort of 8 has been the number discussed, and then suddenly it was 12, and suddenly it's like, oh, it's happening. I was like, oh, even better.
Yeah, it caught us all off guard. I mean, years and years of talking about this, it was always 8 teams with 6 automatic bids. But I do think that what we have failed to account for is 8 teams was not going to do much for the SEC. Obviously, Greg Sankey is the most powerful commissioner now, certainly after both Jim Delaney and John Swofford retired. And the way they look at it is, there are 4 at-large spots right now. Any of the 4 teams can get in there. The SEC had 2 in there one year. If you go to 8, but 6 of the berths are predetermined, that puts a cap on how many teams they or any league can put into it. I think we got to 12 as a compromise because the Pac-12, the Big 12, certainly the Group of 5, their most important thing was having some sort of automatic entry. It's not quite automatic in this model, but it's pretty close, if you're in the top 6 conference champions. And then for the SEC, if they want to put 3 teams, 4 teams, 5 teams, whatever it may be in the 12-team playoff, go for it.
Stewart Mandel, editor-in-chief of the Athletic College Football content, with us on BYU Sports Nation. There's been mixed reaction to how a 12-team playoff may or may not significantly impact the importance of the regular season. Where do you stand as to how a 12-team playoff would lessen or maybe help the regular season?
I mean, I think it's both. It helps the regular season in that way more games down the stretch have playoff implications. Basically, any team that's still in the mix for their conference championship, and that can be, there'll be teams that are pretty far down the rankings, but still have a shot to get in there and win their division. And if they win the conference, have a shot at the playoffs. So many, many more games will be meaningful, but no one game will have nearly the stakes that we've seen basically throughout the history of college football. And to me, that's a shame. Maybe it's unavoidable at this point, but I just think that when I think back on college football, some of the most memorable moments, and take the kick 6, the Alabama-Auburn kick 6, just a, remarkable play, but made all the more meaningful by the fact that with that one kick return, Alabama's national title hopes were done that year. They were 11-0, and with that one play, done. And in this model, you could lose not once, not twice. You could possibly lose 3 games if you're in the right conference and still make the playoff. So I think that will be something that's lost, but I think people will adjust to it because we're used to that in other sports where, in the NFL, the most important games down the stretch aren't necessarily the ones involving the first place teams. It's the ones who are vying for a wild card spot. And there's going to be a little of that in this as well.
Yeah, the drama certainly shifts to later, right, with the college football playoff. And like you said, this is turning into NFL 2, where, it's there are going to be a handful of teams that might play 17 games. Oh, by the way, that's the regular season number now for the NFL. And it does lessen the regular season, but the stakes, just shift to who's going to be 9 through 12 as opposed to 1 through 4 or whatever, which is super interesting. Okay, with BYU and Group of 5s, BYU's not in that as an independent, but the non-Power 5 teams, this certainly opens it up a little bit, and that's been our question we've been discussing is, should BYU join a league to better its chance to get into the playoff? And we were talking about, it all depends on what you want. It feels like BYU doesn't necessarily value that as the end game. There's more holistically to having the program. What are your thoughts on BYU's place in this expanded playoff potentially?
I mean, I think this was the best possible model for BYU. I've been saying for years I thought they needed to join a conference because they're in this, you look back to last year, right? It was New Year's Six, bowl or bust. And once they lost that one game, you go from that to the Boca Raton Bowl. There's not much of a reward there. If it had gone to 8 with 6 automatic berths for conferences, I would say they had to join a conference the next day because they'd have almost no shot. But now you're talking about 12 teams this is the most important part, 6 at-large berths. I mean, Notre Dame, for one, is a big winner in this, although they'll never get to host a first-round bye, and that's what people gravitated to first. They'll have many, at least historically, they'd have many more seasons where they made the playoff. And that could be the case for BYU. Now, I just think that's so much more enticing rather than feeling like, they just had 0 shot at the 4-team playoff. If they had a dream season, their best case was they're going to go to the Fiesta Bowl and play somebody in a game that just wasn't as important as the playoff. Now, if they can get that high, they can get one of those at-large berths. I think that's a big win for them.
Stewart Mandel with us on BYU Sports Nation. Who is BYU's toughest opponent in the upcoming season? Because now we're pushing forward to, all right, college football playoffs. It's going to be a few years before BYU could get an at-large berth, but they still got a season to play. They're coming off one of their best seasons in program history in 2020 with Zach Wilson. So what's the biggest challenge for BYU that is in the future? Is it 7 Power 5s overall, or is there just a single opponent on the schedule? Do you say that's the toughest?
You guys are on a BYU-focused show, so you probably have BYU's schedule memorized. Can you give me a short list of the toughest teams they're playing this season?
Well, I can tell you, I probably think it's USC, Utah,
and Arizona State.
I think that me personally, I mean, it could go either way between Utah and Arizona State. I think those are the 2 best teams in the South. I don't really have a strong lean either way, but I would not be surprised if those 2 games end up being, if by the time you get to the end of the season, if those 2 end up with a better record than USC. Now, playing at USC at the very end like that, obviously that game could end up having big stakes for both teams, frankly. But as I look at the Pac-12 South this coming season, I mean, Utah picking up Charlie Brewer, the transfer from Baylor, was a big deal. I mean, this unprecedented situation with the super seniors, nobody has ever picked up a 4-year starter who's going to be possibly the 5th-year starter. So, and obviously Kyle Whittingham's got a good program there. So those 2 games back to back obviously really stand out to me.
Yeah, that's enough Utah talk. Let's change the subject here, Stewart. Okay, when you look at BYU and the future expanded playoff, to get in, you talked about, okay, you might have been able to lose 3 games. You're probably talking about SEC teams, right, at that point, or Big Ten.
Penn State, a couple of years ago, would have gotten in at 9-3. There've been a couple of there would have been a couple of those every year.
Yeah. So in BYU's case, I'm not sure a 2-loss BYU fits in per se. Probably a 0 or 1-loss BYU. But then I look at the way BYU's scheduling, and that's one thing I have an issue with BYU is like, what's the point of 7 Power 5s this year? Like, people will respect a certain amount of Power 5s and quality teams and wins on that. But the question that we have yet to really find, and I have an idea, but I want to know what you think, is where's the line perceptually for BYU of, oh, that was a tough schedule. They have 1 loss. Yes, they're in the 12.
I think it's going to depend on the committee was devised to value strength of schedule. I would say 7 years of this, we've seen selective application of that. Generally speaking, at least in terms of the 4-team playoff, and at the top, it's basically still been 0 losses is better than 1 loss is better than 2. I don't think strength of schedule has played a huge part there. Now, as you go further down, they do seem to stick to that a little bit more. As we've been looking back at past seasons and applying this model, 2018, Washington State had Gardner Minshew. They had a very good team. They finished 10-2. And I think I just mentioned it before, they would have been behind a 9-3 Penn State team. That's solely a schedule strength issue. So if BYU is going to continue to play schedules like that, obviously it depends in part on how those teams do, how those Pac-12 teams shake out. But no, I absolutely think the committee would reward that. And frankly, I think before they even go into this new playoff, they're going to have to spell out some new rules for the committee to make sure they have to make sure that they reward strength of schedule. Otherwise, I would game the system and we just want to be one of the 6 highest ranked. So we want to have the best record possible. Who cares who we play? You want to avoid teams gaming the system like that. That playing a schedule like the one that they're playing this season is obviously, almost impossible to navigate through with a record that would even get you high enough to get that New Year's 6 at large spot. But I certainly could see it. I could see a team that finishes with 1 loss against that schedule being considered a playoff team.
All right, Stewart, we'll finish with this. Are you of the opinion that the 6 at-large bursts in this proposed model should be controlled by computer rankings, or should it be the committee selecting those last 6 teams?
We tried computer rankings with the BCS and people hated it. I think, people have a short memory, but anytime the computers deviated from the polls, people just hated it. I'm still a fan of the selection committee concept in general. I don't think this committee, the football committee, is as sound as the basketball committee. The basketball committee, and I frankly think they should adopt this. I know we're talking about 68 teams, but every year there's some bubble team that everybody thinks is going to get in that gets left out because they played the number 327 non-conference schedule. Do that in football. Flat out say, if you don't play a strong non-conference schedule, we're going to leave you out of this thing. And then we'll get great games. I think if you stick to the way they've been doing it and basically just say, well, you went undefeated, congrats. You're going to see teams do the opposite. They're not incentivized to schedule tough.
Stewart, great stuff as always. We appreciate your time and a very, very busy slate for you. And speaking of, we invite all of our viewers and listeners to check out the latest piece on The Athletic from this morning, if parity in college football is a good thing or not. Stewart, how do they get that if they want more?
Yeah, go to theathletic.com. You can click on any article to subscribe. But you just mentioned it. We're doing a whole series this week on what we call parity panic. Everybody's panicked about it's the same teams over and over again. So we're exploring that from a lot of different angles. The data is pretty fascinating. It truly is, as everybody suspects, the most top-heavy era in the history of college football. So we're going to tackle that from a lot of different ways.
Can't wait to hear about your adventures with Utah and BYU Twitter the next time we talk to you, Stewart. Great stuff, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Stewart Mandel.